And one of the biggest issues when it comes to running a studio is always thinking about overheads and so on. Mm-hmm. Of course, in your case, you cleverly actually live in your studio.
Cleverly, yeah. Well, things are going well, but I can't afford 2 properties in central London. So, I mean, that's always been the way for me. I don't have a very definite boundary between work and life. And while there are some challenges with that, I think for the most part, it's a positive thing. I mean, I've always said if I were to be, hugely successful and be able to afford a separate property to live in and one to work in, I'd probably want them to be one on top of the other anyway. Just the idea of commuting doesn't really make sense to me. And I don't really want to have to, decide, okay, I'm going to work now, and that then needs to be, if I'm there for less than an hour, it doesn't make sense because of the journey times. And then, those days when you have to stay up and, do post-production until 2:00 in the morning, it's quite nice to be in bed at 2:05.
That's what I love about it, yeah, for sure. What I'm said. But that's the thing. I love having a shooting space at home because for that exact same reason, you can work until 2 a.m. and then literally just turn the lights off and go to bed, and that's it. You don't have to travel.
Yeah.
And of course, for those of you guys out there and girls listening, from abroad, I think the thing to understand about London is that space is a real commodity.
That's really difficult to do in London, but it's not necessary. Again, I grew up here, so I'm kind of conditioned into that way of thinking. To have a sort of, what have I got here, like 75 square meters, that's luxury in central London. Whereas that would be, the garage for somebody living in the Midwest.
To find a property like this with extremely high ceilings as well, which is absolutely ideal, massively large window, which allows you to use natural light as well as artificial light. It's a perfect setup for a studio.
Yeah, so I mean, the types of properties that lend themselves to photography, or at least studio photography, the type that I like to do, are mostly industrial or commercial buildings, and because of the property market in London, there is a lot of industrial and commercial properties that have been converted, because there isn't much industry, and commercial buildings are of a different nature. A lot of commerce has gone online, so they don't need the big spaces anymore. So this was built in 1950. It's got a 3.3 meter ceiling height and 2 meters by 4 meters of south-facing window. So not typical for a residential property in London, but quite typical for that kind of era of light industrial.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult to find a property like that ticked all the boxes initially?
Yeah, it's difficult. Finding a property is difficult anyway because, it's hugely expensive property in London. So sort of starting out from the point of view of what I want or what I would like is great, but then you have to reconcile that with what I can actually afford, what the bank says I can afford, not just what I think I can afford. There was a bit of a mismatch there. It took a long time.
Because London is one of those cities where property is so expensive that a lot of headshot photographers pretty much exclusively shoot outdoors as well.
Yeah, well, there are people that shoot outdoors. I think that's a bold choice in London because the weather is changeable. I've never really understood that choice. For headshot photography, you don't need a huge space, and I think I would much rather, from the very beginning, I'd much rather work in a more restricted space within the place that I'm living than be constrained by the weather.